I want to thank the organizers for inviting GeoGlam to give a presentation on knowledge management, in particular, how we're embracing the Geo Knowledge Hub as a solution to our knowledge management needs. I'm going to give this presentation on behalf of Sophie Bontemps from UC Louvain, as well as, of course, GeoGlam. So a little bit about GeoGlam, who aren't aware of it. We do monitoring at the national to global levels. This includes many EO data and systems, so multiple analytical tools, both Earth observation driven, ag climate, and also bringing in expertise from around the world to vet and develop consensus products. We also underlie this with a very strong research and development activity, the foundation of which is the Joint Experiments for Crop Assessment and Monitoring, or JCAM. And this is a network of up to almost 50 sites now. And this is a global network, produces a lot of peer-reviewed research, but that research is actually oriented towards developing operational solutions that we then turn into the operational systems. And more, we're getting involved in co-development with national agencies, particularly in food insecure, less developed nations. And we found this is a great way, if the countries themselves can implement their own systems, it allows them to develop trusted information that can be quickly turned into decisions, policies, and programs. And when you're talking about emerging droughts or climate emergencies impacting agricultural production, speed is of the essence. So this has proven to be very effective and resulted in significant impact in terms of saving lives, improving livelihoods, and also we found that implementing proactively policies and programs in these countries, they actually save money in the implementation in the end as well, as opposed to responding after the fact. So GeoGlam develops monitoring and early warning, as I've pointed out. This provides actionable data and information to decision makers, again, international agencies, national agencies, and so on, and even subnational in some examples. It's underpinned by that global JCAM research network, producing a lot of peer-reviewed knowledge, a significant emphasis on co-development, so there's a growing wealth of training materials and so on to support that. So with all this knowledge being developed, there's a clear need for a solution to organize, access, and manage it. And for that reason, in 2019, we started to partner with the GEO Secretariat to develop a proof of concept using the Sen2Agri on the Knowledge Hub. I'll talk a little bit about Sen2Agri. It's an agricultural monitoring toolbox, if you like, end-to-end solution. So it's underpinned by that peer-reviewed research that helped develop the algorithms that could be applied to agriculture around the world. It also developed the code, which is available openly in GitHub. There's significant training materials online, but also ongoing series of training approximately every 2 months. And more recently, we've been working on cloud implementation so that there's multiple choices for the end user to access the tools in the end. I should also say that this supports the Sen4 CAP, which is the Common Agricultural Policy activity, and also Sen4 Stats, which is an initiative to work with statistical agencies in these less developed nations to use Earth observations to develop statistically relevant information. And this is all supported by the European Space Agency. Well, the system is quite mature now. It's used in many places. As I showed you in the last slide, there's well over 2,000 downloads globally. The key products it produces right now include surface reflectance, a crop mask, a crop type, and vegetation status, and all this is through the growing season. It's high resolution, 10-meter processing. It can be done for an entire country or a subset. It's seamless processing, and it's accessible through a graphical user interface. So it's relatively easy, but still somewhat a challenge to install and maintain for those who are not that experienced. in this high level of activity. Now, it's free and open source, as I said, and it's available under a GPL license. So, as we started to work with GEO Secretariat, one of the things we did was develop an Amazon machine image of the Cent2Agri toolbox, and this allowed us to eliminate a lot of the very technical tasks that are required to implement this system in a cloud. We call it click and go, so simply users can go in, use the machine image without having to do all these steps that are seen on the right-hand side. In terms of the Knowledge Hub, a lot of the knowledge resources supporting the Cent2Agri have already been loaded into the Knowledge Hub, and this is just an example of a view of some of them. Here we have the overall package for Cent2Agri. We have publications, we have data sets, and so on. And more importantly, these are all linked within a knowledge package that brings together all the pieces of knowledge that are required to, in this case, run the Cent2Agri tools for South Africa. Each resource has its own metadata, description, links, and files if necessary. And the user just needs to click on one of these resources and they'll get an infinite amount of information, and it'll direct you to where you can actually access it. And even things like training are available. So this is really the approach that we see working for our community, really lowering the bar and making it much easier for more uptake of the Earth observation technology. As we move forward, our community is currently developing essential agricultural variables. I'm not going to go into any detail about that, but just to say there's many variables that we're developing along the lines of the essential climate variables and so on. What we envision is that eventually we'll be developing knowledge packages to allow the generation of these variables and make it easier for our users to do so. And currently, this is very exciting. We're working on developing knowledge packages specifically tailored for the national adaptation plans for the UNFCCC. Now, these plans are to help less developed nations be able to respond to climate change. We're developing knowledge packages that provide countries easy access to the tools and to be able to run the tools. Central approach to scaling up co-development. So we've already worked and developed operational systems in 6 nations, 1 region. We want to expand that, and there's a big desire for countries to adopt this now. As we move forward, we're going to incorporate things like the Cent2Agri knowledge package that I've already talked about, but other analytical products as well, so that countries have a choice of what they want to adopt. And we're currently developing a set of supplementary guidelines for the UNFCCC NAP process to kind of provide the roadmap, which will end in the Knowledge Hub, which provides that linkage to the knowledge resources. And I should say this work is, at least in part, funded by the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs of the United Kingdom. So that's really all I have to say. I think this is a very important initiative. We're looking forward to the Knowledge Hub being live and being perpetuated. I also see it as a great resource to be able to integrate across our communities, for instance, agriculture, water, energy, and so on, to be able to take information from one community, integrate it with another to create, say, sustainable development goals or other types of integrated analysis that are required to get us where we want to go with respect to our long-term environmental objectives. So with that, I'll stop and thank again the organizers.